Hello there, it's Tania Gabrielle, Wealth Astro-Numerologist. Welcome to Star Codes, the podcast where we look at an upcoming event in the stars and numbers, the Astrology and Numerology. In this case, we're looking at Saturn's move into Aries. Now, Saturn takes around 29-30 years to move through the zodiac. So when it enters a new sign, the last time happened a long time ago, a really generational planet here, 29 to 30 years. So this is a big moment, and what makes it even bigger is that Neptune, another outer planet, just entered Aries on March 30th after 164 years. So both of these outer planets are moving into the first sign of the zodiac at the same time, which hasn't happened with Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries at the same time in 12,000 years. So this is a biggie. It's really important. And because Saturn rules Chronos, time, karma, destined events, and of course the timing of things, there is going to be a lot of energy moving from now on. And if you thought the world was at a tipping point already, things are now going to get real, truly real, because Saturn governs reality. And Saturn is the ruler of structure and responsibility, and entering that first sign of Aries, which is ruled by Mars, and Aries is full of energy, and leaving Pisces, the final sign of the zodiac, which is all about dreams and borderless. It's a borderless sign, and now moving into this fiery sign, Saturn's going to feel more comfortable, but it's joining Neptune there, and that's what makes this particular move into Aries so different. So first of all, Saturn will remain in Aries except for a retrograde back into Pisces, which we'll get into in a moment later this year. It'll remain in Aries until April 2028. And of course, we can't separate Saturn's Aries influence from Neptune, because Neptune is joined at the hip with Saturn at this time, as they're both at 0 and 1 degrees. 0 and 1 degrees of any cardinal sign is called an Aries point. And these are the beginnings of the cardinal signs that start new seasons. So when planets reach an Aries point, they have a particular impact, a strong impact. So when Neptune entered Aries on March 30th, the energy shifted to an even greater surge of breaking old patterns, shaking things up, creating more chaos, but also bringing and seeding new potentials and inspiring the sense of boldness, visions, testing new frontiers. And now with Saturn entering Aries, things are being brought out in a way like everything is being revealed, right? This is the point of no return now. So it happens on May 24th. That is actually the official day when Saturn enters Aries. And whatever is seeded around this initial time sets the foundation for many, many years to come, because even decades to come, because it takes Saturn around 30 years to go around the zodiac. So it's a really big time. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of this move of Saturn into 0 degrees Aries. It's a radical new beginning. We are entering territory that is totally uncharted. There is no playbook. And so you may be lost at times because you don't have a map that has come from the past to guide you. Right? So there will be times when you just need to go for it and be brave, just like Aries says, right? Aries is, in a sense, a sign of the warrior ruled by Mars. So you need to be the visionary. You need to get that fire of Aries into your heart and let it help you chart the course ahead. Now, Saturn in Aries blends this sense of incredible boldness with discipline, where Saturn brings the discipline. So it encourages new initiatives, but it emphasizes that the initiatives come in a responsible way with some planning as well. Aries doesn't like to plan. Aries just likes to go for it. It's fast moving. It loves starting new things as fast as possible, and Aries relies on instinct. Saturn moves slowly. Saturn moves steadily, so that everything that is seeded leaves behind a legacy and lasts. So Saturn likes to achieve goals. Remember, Saturn rules that 10th house in astrology, the house of leadership, career, public standing, everything to do with your destiny. And Saturn doesn't like to take risks. Saturn wants to understand all the angles before moving ahead. So the impulse to move ahead, to forge ahead into new territories that Aries loves to do is going to be somewhat tempered with a need to be more serious, take a pause, and then move in a more deliberate way. And as a result, your instincts are actually activated in a more powerful way because you're not just going, head on without any sense of what the impact might be or how it might tie into your overall vision of where you want to go. You're finding deep inner strength and determination at the same time. You are being less distracted by the external, but you're also needing less external validation to move ahead as well. So if you previously needed the validation by friends or partners or family or mentors, you are now really filled with the courage, the fortitude to follow through, be thorough without that validation. You're going to bring new projects and ideas to their completion as well, because Saturn is about work, and work breeds expertise, and it also helps you feel inner confidence because you've done your due diligence. So any projects and decisions that you make during Saturn in Aries, and again, this is a longer transit, it's at least 2.5 years, and we'll go into the whole transit in a minute. It's going to last through April 13th, 2028, Saturn in Aries. With Saturn in Aries, you have a greater chance of whatever you begin standing this test of time, because Saturn makes sure that you cross all T's, dot all I's, put in the work, and stick it through. And Saturn will also point out the limits that you might need to make sure you understand you've reached. So if there are limits that you reach, then you literally have a course correct and begin anew, a fresh way. So when you reach those limits, though, you will realize that you are breaking new ground and you've reached a point of no return. So Aries is the brand new. Everything is fresh. It's the first sign. It represents the beginning of spring in the Northern Hemisphere. And remember that Neptune also just entered Aries after 164 years. And Neptune entering Aries means illusions are ending. Illusions are being shattered. Illusions are, Saturn's coming in and saying reality, reality, and Neptune saying, okay, well, let's spiritualize that reality. Now, on the world stage, Saturn symbolizes authority, law enforcement, rules, regulations, and Aries is a fire sign, so we could see more support for or against rules and regulations. And that means that certain laws may be challenged or changed. Aries is very competitive, being ruled by Mars. It can be aggressive, and there could be heated emotions like rising temperatures about anything to do with regulations and rules and law enforcement. So Saturn's not going to give any energy to those heated emotions, which is a good thing. So it's going to temper them again. It's going to bring, a sense of, okay, let's calm down and instead use logic and structure and order. But Saturn in the first sign can also bring up conflict, because Saturn represents the old ways. Saturn rules Capricorn, and we just came through the whole period when Saturn was in Capricorn with Pluto. If you remember, the beginning of the 2020s, they had that stellium in Capricorn. So Saturn is bringing the old, and Saturn in the first sign, there's going to be a conflict between old ways of doing things and new innovative directions. The good thing is, all in all, people are more prone to be patient rather than need instant gratification. And adding Neptune to Saturn in Aries, them joining forces at the very first degree of the whole zodiac, 0 degrees Aries, that is truly pressing the reset button. Again, this hasn't happened in 12,000 years that they're both entering Aries at the same time. So the world is about to shift in ways that we can't even imagine. There is really no historical context. It's an amazing time to be alive. You know, when you got a planet, Saturn, that rules structure and karma and rules and time and boundaries, and then Neptune, which is all about no rules, no boundaries, just having compassion, dissolving energy. It governs the unseen, what's behind you have to go behind the veil. You need to go to the dream time, the dreaming, the intuition. Neptune, again, is a watery planet, right? Saturn is more an earthy planet. So Saturn can give us structure, and it can give structure to the spiritual energy of Neptune and the artistic energy, the creative energy of Neptune. Neptune is connected to the arts and to music. So it's helping us to have a more practical approach when it comes to creative visions. And Saturn merged with Neptune can expose us too to the challenges that we need to embody, understand, and uncover the truths about. So it can open us up to accept spiritual connection that is about compassion for others, putting ourselves in other people's shoes, and understanding people. And that will be a major challenge that will be asked also on the world stage. Now, Aries, the sign, rules the face, it rules the head, and it's a fire sign, it's ruled by Mars, and so it's a very physical sign as well. It governs exercise and movement, and we're going to focus for that reason, because Saturn is about taking responsibility on our physical shape. Like, what shape are we in? Do we feel good? And so health will become also, in terms of the physical movement and the energy that we feel, it's going to become a subject as well. Also, because Aries rules the head, focus on what your eyes are letting in. Are you letting in beautiful, inspiring, uplifting, compassionate energy? Are you letting in knowledge and wisdom? Or are you letting in harsh noise or deceptive energy or distractions or judgmental energy, right? What are you seeing? And are you letting in things that are escaping reality? That's Neptunian, right? Or are you seeking the light? Are you curious? Are you seeking wisdom? Are you looking at the sun? Are you in the sun? Are you allowing the sun into your life in general by appreciating sunrise, sunset, nature? All of these will be subjects. Now, the timeline, May 24th, 2025, Saturn enters Aries. Then it stations retrograde on July 13th, but still is in Aries until September 1st, and then re-enters Pisces due to the retrograde, and then ends that retrograde on November 27th and re-enters Aries on February 14th, 2026. So there'll be a period between September 1st of 2025 and February 14th, 2026, where Saturn moves back into Pisces, cleaning things up, the final sign, right? And then once Saturn re-enters Aries after that retrograde, it will stay in Aries from February 14th, 2026 through April 14th, 2028. Now, Saturn is the great teacher. Saturn points out where we need to go to do the most growing. It encourages rising up, taking ownership, taking the lead, and living the life we want to live, taking the lead in how we want to live our life. And in Aries, Aries is about taking risks. So Saturn is asking us to take leaps of faith in Aries and start new things. So what does that mean? Well, leaps of faith also require that we question things and we question the status quo. Aries wants us to do that. Saturn represents the status quo. So Saturn's basically taking our head out of the sand to confront reality. In this case, it's what are we still holding on to from the past that we need to release? So we're going to be pressured to look at anything that feels heavy, that feels old, that feels like it's outdated. Saturn brings importance and significance and weight to certain parts of life that really need a reality check. So in Aries, that reality check is going to light you up. It can be fresh, it can be new, it's going to require a lot of confidence, acceptance. You need to investigate, you need to research. And after 2 years in Pisces, since March 2023, and even more time in Pisces, as you know, between September 1st and February 14th coming up, Pisces is the sign that Neptune rules. So we have here a merging of energies because now Saturn is merged with Neptune. And Neptune in Pisces govern dreams and mystical realms where it's borderless, as I was saying. And Saturn is all about boundaries and borders. So Saturn is putting restrictions on some of those areas of borders and boundaries and has been since March 2023. Now Saturn in Aries is going to bring this pioneering energy, the sense of adventure, this self-discovery. Aries, the first sign, is about self. It's about fortitude and acting on long-term objectives with Saturn. So there's a sense of time being precious and using time wisely. Remember, Saturn governs time, and allocating your energy to anything that inspires and empowers you. Empowerment is absolutely key with Saturn in Aries, and with Neptune there, it's absolutely amazing what the idealistic sense of things is going to break down, is going to be revealed. Now remember, I'm going to give you now the update on the incredible moment we are experiencing at this time in human history. And that is that the 5 outer planets are all entering new signs at the same time. Pluto began, and Pluto has a 248-year cycle around the sun. Pluto entered Aquarius, 0 degrees, at the end of November last year, 2024. So Pluto was the first planet. Neptune was the second one. Saturn is the third. Jupiter will be the fourth. That will be in June. And then Uranus in July. And we don't have any time in history that we can reference, as far as I have been able to research, where all 5 outer planets have hit 0 degrees of a new sign at the same time. Given that these cycles are all so different, Jupiter's is 12 years, Uranus is 84 years, Saturn is 29 to 30 years, right? Neptune is about 164, 165 years, and then Pluto is 248 years, or give and take, around the sun. So when they all enter 0 degrees of new signs, that is extremely rare. So Pluto began it all. And Pluto is about empowerment. And so what does Pluto bring in the sign of Aquarius, which is the age we're entering now? We're leaving the Piscean age. And remember, Saturn and Neptune are leaving Pisces and moving into Aries. We're leaving the Piscean age. We're moving into the Aquarian age now. So we need to understand Pluto first and foremost, because Pluto is in Aquarius for 20 years through 2044. And I have this brand new masterclass that looks at Pluto in Aquarius, Astrology Shift for the Ages. You can watch it at shiftfortheages.com. It is so exciting because it dives into how Pluto will impact you personally, collectively, and in order to shed some context, we look at 11 previous times in history where Pluto was in Aquarius, because history gives us an unmatched perspective. It gives us powerful guidance. And so these 20-year or so Pluto and Aquarius cycles are going to be looked at from even before Christ. And then I'm going to focus on an ancient technique about unlocking the future and show you how it impacts our current cycle that we just began in late 2024, and it goes all the way through 2044. And we're going to look at the 5 bounds of Pluto in Aquarius. So really splitting this next period into 5 segments and how those segments will likely evolve, what the keywords are. And we're going to do that from the perspective of the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, which was 1777 to 1798. A pivotal time in human history, and then see what the likely outcomes are for now. So there's that and a lot more. And again, it's free. It's a brand new masterclass, and you can watch it at shiftfortheages.com. Enjoy this week. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you in next week's Star Codes podcast. Lots of love.